A lost connection is much more than an inconvenience when it concerns the International Space Station. The International Space Station stands as a beacon of global scientific collaboration, a testament to human ingenuity, and a symbol of progress. But what if this celestial sentinel were to suddenly fall silent? Now, let's explore the intriguing reasons that might necessitate astronauts to legally vacate the International Space Station. Before we immerse ourselves in this critical situation, you might wonder, has the International Space Station ever lost connection before? The answer is a resounding yes, but only on a temporary basis. On July 25, 2023, NASA's Mission Control in Houston, Texas, faced an unprecedented challenge: a 90-minute power blackout. This incident marked the first of its kind since the International Space Station became fully operational. As the screens plunged into darkness, tension gripped every mission specialist in the room. Contact with the International Space Station had been abruptly severed. The resilient crew of Expedition 69 found themselves isolated in the vastness of space. Years of rigorous training at NASA had prepared them for such contingencies. At 8 a.m., the crew instinctively activated backup power systems, ensuring the continuation of life support and vital systems. In just 20 minutes, they managed to re-establish communication through Russian assets. Back on Earth, in the dimly lit Mission Control, experts from diverse fields sprang into action. Decades of pre-planned procedures were set in motion. As tension in Mission Control reached its peak, contact with the International Space Station was finally re-established. The room erupted in cheers and applause as screens flickered to life and telemetry data flowed in, restoring the vital connection to Earth. Now, let's imagine a more daunting scenario: a permanent loss of communication with the International Space Station, a situation where there's no hope of re-establishing contact with ground control for a daunting 72 hours. In this highly unlikely event, the astronauts aboard the International Space Station would face an incredible challenge. They simply can't operate the space station indefinitely without guidance. In this dire situation, the crew's extensive training and the Soyuz spacecraft take center stage. Every day on the International Space Station, Russian cosmonauts relay vital numbers and coordinates to Earth, detailing the station's orbit for the day ahead. These seemingly routine numbers hold the key to understanding the International Space Station's orbit, and if for some unforeseen reason, the crew needed to evacuate the station without ground control, this information would be their lifeline. Here's where it gets even more fascinating. Normally, the International Space Station has 2 Soyuz spacecraft docked, providing a lifeline in emergencies like this. In such a situation, the 6-person crew would split into 2 teams of 3, each taking command of one of the Soyuz spacecraft. The Soyuz spacecraft itself is a marvel of engineering, designed with redundancy and self-sufficiency in mind. Even in these challenging circumstances, it can be manually piloted back to Earth by its crew of 3. It's a daunting task, requiring nerves of steel, but their rigorous training covers every contingency. They have their control stick thrusters and a window, everything needed to align the Soyuz 4D orbit and safely return to Earth. But the question remains, is a permanent loss of communication with the International Space Station even possible? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. To grasp the potential causes of a permanent communication blackout with the International Space Station, let's delve into how this intricate system works. Imagine the International Space Station as a high-tech spaceship gracefully orbiting Earth, our planet. In this scenario, is the stage for this celestial performance. To maintain a constant connection with the station, a network of satellites and ground stations worldwide comes into play. These satellites are always on the move, just like the International Space Station itself. They act as relay points, seamlessly passing the communication baton as the station orbits the Earth. This dynamic dance ensures that communication remains uninterrupted. Back on Earth, strategically positioned ground stations play their part. They serve as communication hubs, using radio waves to establish contact with the International Space Station. The crucial detail here is that these ground stations are situated strategically, ensuring a continuous line of sight to the orbiting station, even as it zips across the sky at incredible speeds. This intricate web of communication enables astronauts aboard the International Space Station to send and receive vital data, engage in conversations with Mission Control, and even share video feeds with us here on Earth. Now, let's explore the potential challenges that could disrupt this crucial link in more depth. One significant challenge to the International Space Station's communication is the ever-present threat of cyber attacks. In our digital age, even space missions aren't immune to malicious intrusions. The station relies heavily on computer systems for communication and operations, making it a potential target for cyber threats that could disrupt communication or compromise sensitive data. Another formidable adversary comes in the form of solar storms. These natural phenomena involve massive eruptions on the sun's surface, releasing high-energy particles and electromagnetic radiation. When directed toward Earth, these solar storms can interfere with our planet's magnetic field and disrupt radio signals, potentially affecting communication with the International Space Station. Furthermore, space itself poses its own challenges. Micrometeoroids, tiny but fast-traveling particles from comets and asteroids, constantly bombard the station. These particles pose a risk to its delicate communication systems and equipment. Space debris is another concern. Our orbital space around Earth is cluttered with defunct satellites and remnants of past space missions. Even a small collision with such debris could potentially damage the International Space Station and disrupt communication. Let's not forget the human factor. Astronauts on the International Space Station are highly trained professionals, but like any complex system, human error can come into play. A simple mistake during maintenance or operations could lead to communication hiccups or even a more prolonged blackout. Lastly, there's the challenge of aging equipment. The International Space Station has been continuously occupied since the early 2000s. And like any technology, its systems are subject to wear and tear over time. Keeping these systems in peak condition is an ongoing challenge, and the failure of critical communication equipment due to age is a distinct possibility.